Let's have a yarn about this this fridge. This one. One interesting fact about these newer fridges from 2015 on. Well, this is a story I got told. Well, it was around 2015 when Dometic bought Waco. Worldwide company. They took the same stuff, and there's up to a 40% reduction in compressor, condenser, fan, the whole lot. But this has just got the one fan here, and it pulls. And yeah, as I said, he reckons from 2015 these things have had it up to 40% reduction in all this hardware in here. Basically not really catering for the Australian market anymore, and particularly in summertime when we see those 40-degree temperatures and you're asking a fridge to run at -15, it's just basically not going to do it, and it's just going to basically run 24/7, drain your batteries, overheat and have a thermal cutoff, which is what we thought this thing was doing. But after we dropped it back down to 2 degrees and ran the freezer in the other fridge, it still was turning off. But yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, I reckon, because just basically, if you're going to invest like nearly $2,000 on a fridge, and a bloody decent one, you're basically not buying gear that was as good nearly 10 years ago. So in saying that, last year when I spoke to this same bloke, his name's Tim too, by the way, but I might put a link in the description to his Facebook page or something, because he's got a lot of really good videos and got a lot of technical information which helps the likes of myself and possibly some of you blokes out there, or girls. He actually rated Evercool, and since whenever it was, 2021 or something, Evercool stopped doing imported fridges and they started making them all again from their warehouse on the Sunshine Coast. So on his recommendation of thinking that Evercool's probably the best fridge on the market today that you could buy, we went ahead and we got that one, and it's been on ever since we bought it, non-stop, never skipped a beat. We dropped that thing to -10 for our freezer. Old mate advised you only really need -5, but because we're not at home and we're not pre-freezing stuff and then putting it in the freezer, we need to get it down. So -10 is suffice on most fridges for freezing food. But that thing dropped in about 10 minutes. So it's been a great fridge, and yeah, we've had it for 12 months now and hasn't skipped a beat. So we'll see how she goes in the next 12 months. If this thing in here shits itself, I dare say we'll be getting another Evercool, or I'll hit him up to fix me up one of those old Waco 80 litres. The good old Dometic Waco 95 litre that I've butchered after some advice from a fridge technician. So anyway, as in earlier videos, I'm pretty sure anyway, as the temperatures were around 40 degrees, this thing would turn off. So obviously a lot of blokes, a lot of ladies out there, when you're camping, that probably creates a fair bit of anxiety if your fridge is turning off or shitting itself or whatever. And I naturally just think it's the fridge, because I personally have done all the electrical upgrades with the lithium and everything in this camper trailer, and it's never been a problem. So anyway, this fridge was about to be thrown into the Murray River, but luckily I didn't, because... So she's just cycling on now. So as I said, chopped these out. I got the old knife out and gave it a good butcher job. That was after having a bit of a yarn to a fridge technician up in Brisbane who I spoke to last year, when our old fridge that came with the trailer shut itself. We had quite a yarn about fridges and what they're like these days, and they're only, well, it's all his professional opinion and his experience, and obviously I'll take that on board. He's repaired countless of these Waco fridges, but he also has a personal belief that the old Waco 80 litre pre-2015, apart from the old Engels, are up there with the best fridges that you can ever have, and I'm damn near ready to see if he can grab one, fix it up, replace all the bits and send it to us, because the amount of trouble we've had, especially since we left Cameron Corner with this fridge, I was ready to just pay him whatever he wanted, just on his belief in those fridges. So, but anyway, where we're at, we had this thing set to negative 15 degrees. And on a 40-degree day, that's quite a temperature swing. So he informed me that I'm basically asking too much of it. We bought the new Evercool last year to replace the old fridge that came with this, and this 95 litre fridge came with the ute. So we put this into the camper trailer. And there was a bit of discussion about, you know, it's such a large fridge in such a small space. I'll just show you a look. So there's not much air circulating. You still have about, well, it's not quite 50 there, but you got about 100 on top, and you got about 100 to the door, and I'd say you got about 30 or 40 in the side there. But I did cut this hole in it so it could breathe, but I thought to myself, well, it's still not sufficing as this fridge is turning off. So he advised me to cut those vents out so it breathes a bit easier and see what it does, but it was still turning off. So like I said, it was almost in the drink, and we were going to buy a new fridge. However, it got me thinking, after it turned off the first time, I whacked it into, all fridges have these normal use or emergency mode. I whacked it into emergency override and she kicked in. So just doing that action threw me totally off the scent. So once we got to Tumut, I had a closer look at everything. Especially because I plugged it into this little outlet we have here, which is on a completely different circuit, and it's got a 40 amp fuse in there. And she ran no problems. So then that drew my attention to the circuit itself. So having a bit of a think about it over a few rumbies, mind you, I thought, well, these trailers come out with a fridge, and the fridge is on its own circuit. And basically, before I pulled apart the Anderson plug in here, I thought, let's go around to where it all happens. So this is the stock Oztrack electrical hub, if you like. And as you can see there, that fridge is currently cycling and it's drawing 4.5, 5 amps. So that got me thinking, I'll throw the voltmeter on the fridge when it cycles just to see what's going on. And then I pulled the instruction manual out for the fridge, and it said that it peaks at about 9.2. So I thought to myself, Jesus, that's pretty high. And I could visually see on this amp thing that it was getting up to about 9, and then that's when the fridge would turn off. So I pulled this thing completely apart, and I found that while it's all got its own individual switches here, the switches for the fridge circuit, the positive terminal on the back was broken due to corrugations or whatever, and it just had momentary, because the wires are used to being in the same position, it was making contact most of the time. So then I fixed that and she worked fine. However, it got hot again and she turned off again. So then that drew my attention. As you can probably tell already, I've replaced this little relay here. So all these little relays are basically like fuses, but when things draw too much, it'll kick that in and it'll cut power to that circuit. So I found that that was a little 10 amp circuit breaker. And as I said, after getting the manual out and finding that the fridge peaks at 9.2 amps, then I thought, well, that's pretty close to 10. I wonder if I upgrade that, if she'll be right or not. And as I've said now for the third time, I think, lucky I didn't throw that fridge in the bin because I was about to, but I replaced that with a 15 amp relay switch. No problem whatsoever. So one lesson I learned of all this, and maybe someone else can learn too, you automatically blame the fridge, especially after what this bloke was telling me on the phone. But it was basically, it ran in that override, and because that positive terminal was just basically contacting intermittently, even though it was broken, kind of threw me off the scent that anything else should be wrong. But when you get a chance to stop and think about it, and you don't really let the pressure of the situation get to you, which is hard sometimes, I discovered that the relay was probably too small for this upgrade of a fridge, considering this trailer came with a 75 litre Evercool, which I think maxed out at 6.5 amps. So a win. So hopefully that little bit of our experience can possibly help one of you, should you come across the same problem in the future. And before you go thinking about throwing your fridge in the river, just maybe check the wiring and the circuit on your trailer or caravan or whatever, just to make sure that that's all in order, because these fridges are expensive, and bugger spending $2 grand on another one if you didn't need to.